Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all my blessed beloveds out there in video land. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rustie, and well, I'm Rustie. And as you can see, we're still working on my office studio space slash art room slash Chloe's workout room slash dogs like to hide room. Yeah, life. I know. I live life just like the rest of you. I have to use one hand and one leg to get into my pants, just like everybody else. It's kind of crazy right now, the world, don't you think? This show is specifically designed to give you inspiration, hope, motivation, excitement, new ideas, expand your mind. And, you know, I really, really want this place to be a space in which you can find your happiness. That's what we're about here at Living and Thriving. As you all know, I do this all out of my pocket. Every now and then a guest will donate to help with marketing and the storage and all of the things that happen. So it's a lot of work, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to be able to travel all over the world and meet amazing people with amazing stories. And my hopes is that it inspires you to be a better version of yourself and learn to be a happier version of yourself, because we always have that choice, don't we? We can always be a happier version if we choose to be. I'm staring at my garbage, my recycling bin, and praying that it doesn't tip over. Sorry, a little distracted at the moment. My next guest is Arti. And I'm so excited. And if you actually look at her, she is absolutely beautiful. Definitely did not expect like this tribal, beautiful woman to appear first thing this morning. We had a little bit of technical difficulty, but that's normal. And as you can hear in the background, evidently there might be a lizard crawling across the screen because my little four-legged decided to be all pit bull, and she's really a chihuahua.
No.
So if everybody can ignore that for the moment. Arti, tell us who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
Totally. First of all, Rustie, with gratitude for allowing me to be with you and your audience today. And number two, thank you for the compliment. I actually think that once we all accept our inner and outer beauty, the world becomes a little brighter place. So I totally take your compliment. It took me a long time to get here, and not to be sexist, but I feel like women often take a lot of time sometimes to come into their outer beauty, or by the decade they see themselves deteriorating versus looking at themselves in a different light of aging with grace. So my name's Arti, and I am the executive director of Diya Holistic Lifecare, which is a nonprofit. It's a startup nonprofit that was started about, I always forget because it's pre-pandemic, a year and a half years ago. Yes, about a year and a half ago. And it is basically, I call it a legacy project in terms of, it's basically a coaching industry from the beginning of life to the end of life. My mom was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, back in August of 2018. And so I always say anyone who's faced chronic illness or a lifelong illness knows that you go into research mode and you just want to just save the person or have a better quality of life for them. So in that diagnosis for my mom, the medical research, then of course going into alternative therapies and looking at different ideas and nutrition. My family's originally from India, so we looked at a lot of the Eastern medicine. We got into acupuncture, and then of course now I really believe in East and West medicinal care is really crucial in healing. And so Diya basically started after my mom passed. I was just cleaning up her room. This is actually the room that she was in, and in her room is the Bhagavad Gita, and in the Gita she had written the life stages. I actually keep it on my desk now. I'm going to frame it soon, but she'd written these life stages, like your birth and background, your childhood and teenage, love and marriage, And my background's counseling, so this reminded me a lot of Eric Erickson's stages of life when you go through. But she's just really made it like in a really fun way, like the real niche of it. Work in community, religion and spirituality. And I love that she says spirituality because even though she was Hindu by nature, she's really spiritual. And then grandparenthood and stars. And then she has a comma, and I started to think of that comma meant the afterlife. So long story short, I looked at this handwriting of hers in these life stages, and then I go back about a month later. I come back into the room. I practiced Reiki, and I really picked up Reiki again. Energy, and Reiki's energy work for anyone who doesn't know what it is. It really helps to kind of go inward and tune in. I looked at it again, and I was like, click, this is supposed to be the vision behind this Diya Holistic Life Care. And I started my own business at the same time called Love and Light for Kids. Love and Light for Kids was a name I came up with in grad school. We had to make up our own program. Little did I know that each step leads to somewhere, but that's kind of the story of how everything happened. And where I am today is like telling myself and others that building blocks happen. You know, my daughters play a lot with Legos, and they build and build and build. They build these beautiful different things. And I'm like, it is the building of every little thing leads to the next thing in our lives. And that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
I love the fact that you honor your mom, even in her passing, for the gifts that she left you. And maybe we can talk a little bit about being a child. Like, did you realize all these gifts that your mom had? Or did it just kind of hit you towards her grand finale of being human?
That's such a great question, Rusty. I think like a lot of so my dad had passed when I was young. So I definitely can tell you I appreciated my mom as a single mom probably earlier than a lot of us do when we really appreciate what a parent is. We always say those of us who want to be parents and are fortunate enough to be a parent. And I always say parents, Rusty, is not only just like biological children. I mean adoptive. I mean taking anyone foster. I also mean like you're a parent the minute you have a pet. You know what I mean? Like they are your baby.
Girl, preach.
Yes. So I just want to remind our listeners, sometimes I just want to tell you my definition of everything's so different from the norm. Like it just never fits because the truth is the maternal paternal instinct comes from taking care of something or someone is what I believe. So with that being said, knowing that my mom was single-handedly raising me, I had that appreciation. And then the founder appreciation definitely happened with really when I became a mother, for sure. And then I had all hands on deck with her support to start to raise them. My husband was traveling a lot in the very beginning when I first had them, and just having her support in raising them. And then the recognition definitely at our end of life, like you said, the grand finale came and all of the gifts, like the spirituality, I think really hit me hard when I was just analyzing when she got diagnosed. Like, gosh, her spirituality is so strong and mine is going to carry me through. And she reminded me that mine's going to carry me through. And I can honestly tell you, like, when I do a lot of grief and loss work with myself and others, it's the fact that we find meaning with holding on to something. And that I think is something that's so abstract. And that's where that spirituality piece comes in.
I think it's really phenomenal how we have, in my opinion, if you've ever watched my show, I talk about de-evolution a lot. Because I think in some ways we're going backwards instead of forwards. And I think in the topic of death, which intrigues me to no end, and not in a morbid curiosity way, but in a beautiful way, because I think it's a beautiful thing. And I say that in a deeply spiritual way, because there's a beginning and an end, and it's a cycle. And I think over time we have stopped embracing that beautiful process that inevitably we're going to. And talk to us a little bit about your grief work with other people, because you have some hurdles to jump over with perceptions and beliefs and society. And B, it's a beautiful process to be vicariously involved with families and people who get to share memories and stories.
Totally. So, Rusty, in the process after my mom's passing, I actually, in order to, I believe a lot in education and credentialing, just so that I can provide quality care. So, I think I found a lot of solace with educating myself. So, I became a certified health coach. And then I also underwent what's called being a death doula, which is actually also in the realm of being an end-of-life coach. Like I said, the nonprofit is coaching through the lifespan. So it's coaching through the different stages of life. But really, the humbling part of death that I have found and in grief work is the fact, like you said, you get to sit with people's authenticity. There is no choice but to sit with authenticity at the end of life and with grief. You have no choice. You cannot cover it up. You cannot bandage it. I tried so many times. I still do, almost 2 years later, try to put band-aids on, ask what's going on with me. Why do I need to curl up in a ball for a second and just want to sleep? Like, and then I'm masking it because I'm like, what's wrong with me? And then little do I remember, I'm still in the infancy stage of this. And I just recently went to a grief and loss, actually it was 2 weeks ago, that was sponsored by PESI, which is a nonprofit organization that works a lot with education through psychology and mental health. But to one of the speakers who's really big in this field is David Kessler. And he worked a lot with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who, as we know, is the founder, in a way, of the 5 stages of grief. But David Kessler has actually added on another stage. He has a book called Finding Meaning. And that's exactly what is how do you take the different strands of life and find meaning? Because you're right, Rusty. I always equate this now to a butterfly. You know, we have the cocoon larva, the pupa stage, and then we metamorphosize into a beautiful butterfly. And we are mammalian, we are mammals, we are animals. We also have to understand that we do inevitably have a beginning, middle, and end. But I never call it the end because I still think there's an afterlife. But you get what I'm saying, in this human condition form. And yes, the humbling work of sitting with people's stories, I definitely find, like I said, I think some people are realizing that we can finally say it's okay to cry, it's okay to release emotion. And I think this is where we are, that we're finally sitting in grief because everything that's happened with the pandemic. How many people realize they've lost somebody, whether it's been in their own circle or like second degree of separation at this point? Definitely third, right? Everybody's heard something at this point. So yes, I love what you said. It is a beautiful thing when you start looking at it. I always say there are a couple of days I always remember my mom's passing. She got to pass at home, and it was a really beautiful witnessing of her last breath, if you ever get that moment, because it reminds you of how precious that breath is when you see someone taking their last breath.
Yeah.
There's nothing more humbling than knowing that every morning, if you get the ability to take one breath, that you regardless of your condition, how you can really feel blessed.
I think it's exciting to take my breath because I know that I've been given another shot to be ornery, and I'm an extremely ornery person. Yeah. I have had near-death experiences. I always say God was fishing. So I was too small of a fish, so he threw me back 3 times. And the devil don't want me because I'm too ornery. So I've decided to spend the rest of my life in a place of adventure and fun and silliness and painting with my fingers And it's really striking to me how it makes some people very uncomfortable. Some people look at me and they're like, well, you need to grow up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, I don't actually. I need to grow in. I need to grow out. I need to grow, period. And there's not up, it's just being a part of life and living life and not having this stringent ideology that isn't working for anyone. I mean, if we look at depression and suicide rates and divorces and addictions, the version of life that we keep exposing as what we're supposed to live, it's not working, folks. It's not working. So, nobody knows how much sand is put in their hourglass. And you can have your last 3 pieces, or you can have 5,000 more pieces dripping. You don't know. So you might as well get good with being alive and playing with life, because it's a playground.
I just love that so much. That's such a great metaphor. Life is a playground and your hourglass. Like, it's true. We don't know. I think of, when you say hourglass, I think of Days of Our Lives. Like that.
Oh, you're my age.
Oh, Papa, right? Yes. So I just think of that hourglass and with the days of our lives, like you just don't know. And I just think with that basic breath of appreciation, this sounds so, whatever the word would be, um, it, it, if you can just appreciate that basic breath of the morning and take so much gratitude for that, even if that you don't have any other practice, if you can just do that, I swear by goodness, your morning in itself and the way that your brain, the way that your body, and the way that your spirit feel, it can carry you for a good amount of chunk of time in those weeks, if not all day.
I'm a
Really.
true believer. I've had lots of trauma, so we got that out of the way early, I think. But I'm a true believer that if you sit in the morning with your bed and your pillows and your blankets, and for me, it's puppy butts. I have 2 little puppy butts every morning, and my coffee and my sunrise, and I describe it in my head, and I feel it, and I touch it, and I mentally chew on the moment. I really think it made my skin change. I really think molecularly it changes the value of your life on a very scientific molecular level. And you're a holistic practitioner as well, so I know you totally dig in this.
Oh,
But if you want to heal and you want to lengthen your sand in your as the world turns sand, hourglass, you've got to appreciate the little tiny things, because it's not about the money. The money is just a exchange of energy, of duty, of obligation. It's not about TV. TV, to me personally, my opinion, is heroin for the brain. But it's the little moments. It's the little moments when your dog is whimpering and they're chasing something in their dream. They're so freaking cute, but 10 minutes later, they're chewing on your shoe and you want to beat them, You don't beat your dogs. Don't. I'm just being silly. But I think molecularly, scientifically, you really do change your health.
absolutely. You're so right about the skin. You know, the skin does, the days you have a really good night's rest, you can tell when your eye bags are sagging or bigger. But then also, truly, when you can tell the difference between having really good positive aura and really good spirit around you and designing your life to a way you can feel how good your skin feels. And a lot of what when I talk about self-care, the recommendation I always give is that quick self massage when you just put a little bit of whatever, your moisturizer or coconut oil, and just close your eyes, and in the morning just quickly literally open up your eyes and just feel that feeling, and you literally are opening up the blood vessels in your face. You're getting that, all that toxins out, and it's not anything that's that's going to take, because it really doesn't take anything but 30 seconds. I don't even do it very, but I have started, these are things I have found, small little itty bitty changes, and I just feel so great. And when I don't do something in my practice, I'm definitely cranky. You know, like I read a little spiritual passage in the morning, like a one pager. And if I don't do it, I am off the kilter. Like I'm just cranky. And so you will realize what groove, what you need, what your body and your spirit are craving, and just listen. It'll tell you. You just have to, you'll become, with good practice and conditioning, you will know how to read yourself for sure.
I think that we're running out of time, speaking of hourglasses, which this goes by so fast because it's so much fun. Like I feel so grateful to be able to travel around the world and meet inspirational people like you, because I think your story needs to be told, and here's a way to do it in kind of a non-conventional way. But I think it's important. I think it's important to have these conversations. And I want to talk a little bit for the last couple of minutes that we have. Where do we find more information about you? That's like totally important, because I want people to tap into your resources and your ability to help them, especially if they're going through a grieving process. And that doesn't necessarily mean death, which we haven't talked about. So I have a feeling we have a part 2 coming up on this, because you and I have more to talk about in the world of grief. So how do we find you? That's one.
Yes. So I do have a Instagram account. It's called Diya Holistic Life Care, DIYA Holistic Life Care. And then we also have a Facebook page, Diya Holistic Life Care, and Gmail, diyaholisticlifecare@gmail.com. I try to keep it pretty steady. And then the website is www.diyaholisticlifecare.org. And that does go through all the services. And we provide services on sliding scale and pro bono, because the goal is to provide accessibility is a big key component that I believe in.
Do you know anybody who writes grants? Because I do, and I might be able to connect you with a grant writer.
I would love it.
Okay, love Sandra, if you're watching. Okay.
Love it.
What state are you in?
Virginia. I'm in Virginia.
Oh, hi neighbor. You're not too far from me. I'm actually going to be cruising through Virginia in a couple of weeks.
Are you?
Yeah, I go up to Maine every summer. So.
Oh, Maine in the summer. I had a professor who he just would talk about Maine in the summers, and we would get so excited for him.
Yeah, I like to hike and camp, backpack, that kind of thing. And my daughter's father still lives in Maine, so she goes and visits him. And so we do mom and daughter journey up the coast because I'm in southern Florida. And we take about 4 days and just kind of cruise up and visit places. And, you know, she's going to be 16 this year, so I'm running out of that time. Sniff, sniff.
Full advantage, yes. Of those 2 years of the hourglass while she's under your roof,
Yeah, so I'm hoping that all the years we've been doing this, it will give her memories when I finally kick the bucket. Of course, I'll be sliding in with a cigar and some poker chips, but you know, just my nature. So in the last couple of minutes, give us 3 tips and tricks to have a better day. I think COVID and Corona and the disinformation and the media and the blah, it's just got people all funky. Like people are raw and funky. So how do we defunctify?
So defunctifying is a process. The first step is, remember, nothing lasts forever. This is not going to last forever. Number 2, yes, the world is different. Accept it. There is no normal. There was never a normal, and there will never be a normal. Just accept that it is a different place to be. So whatever you are trying to go back to, whoever you're trying to go back to, it is not the same. So accept the fact that it is different, and you will literally, and I always, it's called training your brain. You have to train your brain. You have to train your brain. It is an organ. It's a muscle. It needs to be trained. And so you remind yourself. Number 3, All dreams are possible. I wish that kids could teach adults that, you know what, keep dreaming. Because I never thought, and I have four actually. I'm sorry, Rusty. The fourth is never say never. I always use example. I never thought, I said in college I would never drive a minivan. I drive a minivan. I never thought I would own a business, let alone, these are things. I thought I was supposed to be under the umbrella of someone. Don't squash what you're supposed to and what you're meant to do, because you don't know what you are capable of until you go all in, which means never say never.
You are a beautiful soul, and definitely if you still have the calendar link, try to book actually before the end of today, because I'm booking fast. I can't
Okay.
even tell you. It's great, it's beautiful, but I'm a solo person, so it's a lot of work, as you can imagine. Definitely book a round two, because I want to delve into grief a little bit more.
Oh,
I think
for
it's a
sure.
really incredible topic that is under discussed, and right now I think it really needs to be expanded into a full universal conversation.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you, Arti. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much, Rusty. Take care.
You too, honey.
All
You're
right,
watching
bye.
Living and Thriving with Rusty. I'm Rusty, and I get to do this. It's so cool. You should try it sometime. Go out, sit on a bench, or go to a park, and even if you're introverted people can talk, and they do have ideas, and well, you can meet some really cool other introverted people even if you're introverted. So you can do this. You can go out and live and thrive and feel good about life, because life is beautiful. You have to remember, though, you are a sack of water surfing on a rock without a steering wheel. That's all you are. This beautiful cosmic dust that has water on the inside, surfing on a rock without a steering wheel into infinity. So don't take it so seriously. Just kind of lean into your knees a little bit and go with the flow, because you never know what's going to happen, ever. So stay surprised, stay excited, find that little passion inside yourself and do it. And like Arti said, never say never, because, well, you just never know. Did I say never, Arti? Part two. Until next time, know that you're loved, know that you're beautiful, do something kind for yourself, but cooler, do something kind for somebody else, because you never know what that one kind cup of coffee or free sandwich or something that you did for some stranger could have changed their life entirely. You don't know their story. They don't know yours, but you can still be kind, can't you?